top-notch kit has 20 pieces of sheeting to plank the fuselage. Of these 20 pieces, they're glued up in pairs along a laser-cut finger joint. Because of this, I chose to use CA and then go over it with a plastic baggie to help smooth out the CA as it was curing. This allows for a minimal amount of sanding along the joint to get a nice smooth joint. We're adding stringers now. There were about 20, I think there were 20 stringers in the kit. Each one was weighed with a gram scale. The heavier ones are going to be put up front, and the lighter ones are in back. All of the front to back stringers need to be spliced. Splicing the stringers, I'm using one of the light stringers for the back, transitioning to the heavier strings in front. I forget what the ratio is. I think there's a certain ratio, 3:1, 5:1, of thickness of the stringer to length of the splice. These are 3/16 inch stringers, and I'm making a 1-inch splice. That's roughly 5:1 if my math is correct. So I'm just going to mark 1 inch, gang them together, pinch them together, and then just cut the diagonal between the two marks. That gives me the splice. And then to make it easy to glue without sticking my fingers together, I just use a plastic baggie. So the stringers are on, they're in place. It's time to start adding some of the sheeting. If you hear some loud panning, I just got back from a nice long walk with the dog, and he got to chase about 100 rocks, so he's pretty tired. I don't have the heart to kick him out of the cool shop. So anyway, sheeting's ready to go on. There's 10 pieces. I think 1, and then 2, and 2, and 2, and I guess a bottom one. I'm going to differ a little bit from the instructions here. Mr. Valentine has used CA. The sheeting is designed to kind of go halves and halves, kind of a half lap type joint, where half of the sheeting is here, then the other half will go the other side. And apparently all of these are cut just so that you will have pretty much exactly half of the stringer to work with. I didn't want to use CA, so I'm going to do the iron-on sheeting method, or at least that's what I'm going to try for the top one here. Iron-on sheeting method is, if you've never heard of it, is basically just like ironing on a piece of covering. What you do is run some glue along your stringer, and this will run all the way to the back. The beauty about this and why I really like this method is there's no rush, because you really want the glue to dry anyway before you add the sheeting. You can take your time. That's what I like about it over trying to use CA. I always feel so rushed when I try to use CA. I'm going to add another bit of glue to the center. Alright, so I'm going to take the sheeting, and this glue is still a little bit wet, but that's okay. There's a front, there's a front to this. So the front goes on the front. Yes, even I know that. I'm going to stick it on and try to transfer some of that glue that I just put on the center longeron, transfer to the rib. Alright, so now I have marked my location where the glue is. I don't really need to add any more here, but I do need to fill in some of the dry spots here. Now I have plenty of time to come in here and remove any of my glue blobs. It's been about 20 minutes and the glue feels dry to the touch. I can already see there's one thing I'm going to change or modify this technique a little bit with the other sheeting, and that is I'm just going to apply glue to the formers, and since the sheeting sort of goes halfway along the stringer, a half lap joint if you will, glue to the formers and then thin CA on the edges along the stringers. I think that'll speed things up a little bit for me. Iron, I'm just going to use a covering iron. I got it set on high heat. I'm not sure how much heat this is going to take. This is 3 32nd inch sheeting, I believe. I've always done it with 1/16 inch sheeting. Now, one thing Mr. Valentine says to use in instructions is a 50-50 mix of water and ammonia. I'm not going to get into the ammonia discussion about whether it destroys the wood fibers or not, blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you right now, I'm just going to use 100% water and that's it. And all I need to do is just a little spritzing, just to soften it up a little bit. Now I think the technical term for what this is happening is polymerization. I don't really know what that means, to tell you the truth. I guess it's creating polymer chains or something, but the heat, I don't know. But basically what you're doing is sort of like making an iron or a heat activated glue in a way. That sticks it down really well, and you can see, I mean, there's no rush here. Just like ironing on some plastic covering or fabric. And it's stuck down. I think my heat's probably a little bit high, so I'm gonna turn it down a wee bit. It stuck down really well. So the second sheeting is on. This is the 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock clock code, as Mr. Valentine calls it. And I tell you, I'm having a little bit of trouble with it. According to his instructions, it should be really simple. Very little trimming required for a perfect fit. Up here I got a little bit of a gap. This probably won't be a big deal. I think the windshield is going to go right about here. But I got a little bit of a gap up front here. And then as we go further back, starting right about here, you can really see it's a big gap. A really big gap. The reason for the big gap back here, I think, I was trying to get the bottom part of the sheeting about halfway on the stringer. I figured if I could get this sheeting halfway on the stringer, which I did a fairly good job all the way to the front, then maybe the other sheets here and along the bottom would fit easier. So that's why I sacrificed the fit right here to try to get a better fit along the stringer. Instead of trying to sheet the sharp corner of the wing fairing at the wing root, I chose to infill with blue foam instead. In this area I chose to strip plank as it seemed easier than trying to use the kit provided sheeting.